that's a pretty perfect picture right now. It's abstract, a snowball effect, feeling life with mass stress. And you gotta stop and think, people may disagree. If I wrote a book of poetry, then no one would have ever heard of me. I got a spoon feed.
I was born here in Harrodsburg.
Okay. So, you go to Harrodsburg, like elementary schools? Or?
Yeah, I went to Harlow and I went to Harrodsburg Elementary. But I went to Danville too. I went to Tolliver. And
all in elementary school?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to Tolliver first, kindergarten and Tolliver and Danville. And then I went to Harrodsburg Elementary in Harlow. And then about 5th grade, I went back to Danville and went to Hogsett. And then finished out at Danville High and graduated at Danville High School.
You were born in Harrodsburg, moved between Danville and Harrodsburg elementary schools. Were there any teachers that stood out, like, man, you know, they really had my back growing up?
Oh, yeah. Quite a few. There was Miss Johnson here. She always, you know, she was like a mom away from home. Like, I was always kind of like a class clown and stuff, but I was afraid to do anything wrong in her class. She was like mom away from home, you know. And even to this day, if I see her out, I mean, you know, I gotta hug her neck and you know, and at least give her, you know, a minute or two of my time, no doubt. And she's always been supportive of my art or anything that I've done in life, you know. I love Miss Johnson. So then in high school, at Danville High, there was Miss Dickey. She taught English, and I really loved her because she just, I don't know, she was just like this small little lady, and she knew how to control her classroom. She made everything that she talked about seem like the most interesting thing in the world. And it was weird because it was the things that she were talking about was like, you know, Edgar Allan Poe and, you know, Shakespeare and different stuff like that, you know, could be, I guess, boring, you know what I mean? But it wasn't. It was exciting. And I can remember writing for her, and she worked with me so hard on, we had to have, you know, like a piece of literature written as like a senior, and my work was so long, and it was filled with so much dialogue, and she just worked with me all the time, like chopping it down, like, let's cut out the dialogue, let's do more description, and I mean, she just really kept me on track. Mr. Trumbo was a counselor there. Always a joy to see him in the hallways. Mr. Blevins was my band director. Love Mr. Blevins. I can remember, I mean, he just really, like I said, I grew up without my father in my life, directly in my life every day. And I spent so much time in the band with Mr. Blevins. He was like a father figure in my eyes. You know, I don't know if he realizes that, but he was. And, you know, he would help me to do like regionals and state if I needed to practice. You know, I can remember him driving me to Richmond to go and take lessons to play my flute better so that I could have a better performance at All-State tryouts. And you know, I didn't make All-State. I did make regional band. I didn't make All-State, but just to have him that interested where he would take his time out to drive me there to get me the lessons. I mean, I'll never forget that. We go to Florida with the band, and I remember I didn't know how to swim, and I remember Mr. Blevins taking out at least like an hour in the pool I never learned how to swim, but he was not giving up. He was just like, you're gonna swim. Like, and he was really trying to teach me how to swim. The band was like a family. And like I say, you know, those people that were in the band are some of the most memorable times, and those people are most memorable in my life because we were all like family. There was no I remember there was like one instance of like race being an issue, like the color of your skin coming up
within the band.
within the band. But for the most part, I don't feel like there was a lot of racial tension within the band. To me, we were like family, but that was my experience. I can remember there was some racial tension one time we were going to Florida, and there was a guy that was in the band, and he was kind of like a jerk. But everybody kind of excused him because that was his personality. But he got caught up into a conversation, and it became racial. And I remember I wasn't part of that conversation, but I overheard the conversation, and I was kind of like a mouthpiece. I was the assertive person that spoke up, and for some reason that hurt me so bad that I couldn't speak up and defend it. I could just remember everybody that was my friend was mad that I was hurt. They were just like, oh no, we're not gonna stand to see LaChrista hurt. We were just like family. Nobody wanted to see anybody hurt. And I think that confrontation that he had with, that he had, the guy that initiated the conversation, I think it changed him. I think that maybe he thought because, he was bold enough to say whatever he was saying that people were gonna agree, or whatnot. But I don't think it went as well as he thought that it was gonna go. And I think it changed his perspective on how he thought. Perhaps maybe he heard another conversation. He was just repeating what he heard. Who knows? But I think after that experience, I can remember him being more tolerable. Because when I was younger, people would repeat stereotypes, and then you would say something to them like, well, what about Michael Jackson? Or, they would just be like, well, not them. Or, well, what about me? You think that? No, not you. And it's like, well, where is this coming from? That's why I say a lot of times people repeat, things that they hear other people say, and they don't necessarily believe that themselves. It's just like, they feel empowered, or they thought that when they seen the person that said it, they thought highly of that person, and that person said it. And so then they go repeat it thinking that somebody else would feel highly about them, that they're repeating something that they heard someone else say, that they admired. And then when they're confronted about the ideology, then it's like they realize that they don't really believe that. Because I know they used to say like America's a melting pot, so to speak, but I mean, it's kind of true. Like we're all in the same boat. We're all in here together. I mean, in Kentucky, there's not a day that you don't go really, I don't know where you would be, that you don't see people of different, skin tone, whether white or black. I mean, even if you see a black person, the next black person you see may not even be the same skin tone as the other black person that you see. I mean, we're all different shades of skin. So, to stereotype or to believe one type of ideology about another person, it just doesn't hold water a lot of times. I mean, if you're really being honest about it. And I think that's true for Danville High. Like when I was there, we all kind of got together there. We had Black Student Union, and there wasn't just black people in the Black Student Union. There were whites, blacks, I think it was like an Asian, So, I mean, we all kind of got together and tried to unify when I was there.
You do some visual art.
Yeah.
How did that journey start?
So, like I said, I grew up with my mom in a single mother household, and I could just always remember drawing and coloring, and we actually lived over at McIntyre Homes with Cheryl Dunhigh.
Okay.
And I can remember there was a lady that used to babysit me, Miss Helen, and she had a daughter named Lisa. And Lisa is passed away. May she rest in peace. But all she ever wanted to do was color. She had tons of coloring books and crayons, and I would just spend time with her doing that. She was just a wonderful, wonderful person. I think about her often, but she was a sweetheart, and she was very creative, and I think that inspired me a little bit to be creative with her. And I just remember my mom always saying, "You got that from your dad. You didn't get that from me," And it was frustrating because he wasn't around for me to relate to, or talk about the art or anything like that. And it was just the one gift that I got, from him. So I just explored it, I explored it. I thought that it would make my mom happy, to see me practice my gift. And that's just what I was good at. So I just kept doing it. When I went to college, I went on a music scholarship. And then later, I went to Kentucky State University. And I changed my major after a while. I went into art, and that's what I got my bachelor's degree in, is in fine arts. So I got a little bit of both. I still love it. I still, just maybe like a month or two ago, bought Fruity Loops, just to make music with that, because it's still a passion. I love making music. I used to rap in high school, and I remember telling my cousin, like, I'm going to be the most famous rapper ever, and we did a talent show, and it was like 4 girls, and I wrote all the raps for everybody, and we didn't have any beat, but one of the girls did like the beatboxing. She did like a little beatbox, and I used to love doing it, but as I got older, I just like really being behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So I like working with the music and doing the engineering and matching the sound up with, just making the overall, I love doing that more than to be like out front, in the forefront. But I love it though. I love it. I made a song I was telling you about the Greens. They make music, and I used to go over to their house, and they had like a little, her husband does all the recording, and we recorded like one song, and I rapped and I wrote all that, and it took a minute. Because when I first got on the microphone and I heard my own voice, it was over.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I was just like, I was freaked out. Like, it took at least a whole 24 hours for me to really get back on the microphone and really concentrate. And my rap was so horrible at first. And I can remember going home and just like, oh, man, I got to come better, And I just woke up, like, out of my sleep at, like, 3 a.m., with like lyrics in my head, and I just like wrote it all down, and went back and rapped it, and I've been hooked ever since. Like, I was just like, oh my God, like I love this. I love it. I love making music, I love writing, like making a whole song and writing. Now, if I'm not painting, I'll go and put in a couple hours on that and just try to make some beats up. And I love it. It's just relaxing to me.
There's something interesting about taking everyday life and putting it in a pretty package and then presenting it for other people.
Yes, because the art form, like, I really like to speak through my art. Like today, I kind of got in trouble on Facebook because I did put a message out, but it was still an art form. Like, I wanted to control the narrative. Instead of saying, someone got shot by the police, or police are racist, or something like that. I just changed the narrative and to try to come as a human being. and not as part of a political movement, or trying to say what the news said, or I just put it in, I just changed the narrative, put it into my own words. And I think most people got it, but it was just like this one guy that was just like, why are you saying it like that? This is not this, and this is this. And it was just like, dude, and I just kind of inboxed him like, I'm controlling the narrative on my timeline because I'm an artist. And I think, that's what some people don't understand about artists. You have an artistic license to express yourself any way that you want. Some people use it to provoke a reaction. Some people do it to, just purely to express themselves. But, I do it to express how I'm feeling about something, and I really didn't want to get into the political thing because I've been there, and everybody's not going to agree. I have 2 daughters that are biracial, and not only are they, their heritage is white and black, but they're also Native American, so they've got 3 different sides of, they could have 3 different political stances if they wanted to. You know what I'm saying? But they choose to incorporate all of that into who they are as a person. It's not like they're picking one side and saying this, that, or the other. And for me, I know that I can't really pick a side like that. So when I put my art out, it is what it is. Like for this piece, it's not really saying like, Black Lives Matter. It's just saying this is what is happening. This is a testament to our time. I'm painting what I'm seeing happen. This is 2020. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's not like me going out and saying like, this is what where I stand on this. As an artist, I'm saying this is what I see. When you're a photographer and you take a photo, you're taking a photo of what you're looking at. You're not making a statement. You know what I mean? When you're singing a song, you're expressing how you feel about something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of like capturing a moment.
Yeah, this is how you're expressing yourself. So, and I've had people tell me, even just not even trying to be like negative. I think it came from a good place. But they're always saying, why don't you try to draw or paint things in general, like a sunset or a still life or an animal or, whatever. And I do have some landscapes or whatever, but for the most part, when you see my art, you see like images of people, you see black skin, and sometimes my response is, I'll go to the store to get a picture frame, and the picture inside of the picture frame may not look like me, but it doesn't stop me from purchasing it because it suits a need. If I need that picture frame, it's the size and the money is right, I'm going to get it. And, there's like 300 million people in the United States. Somebody might want what I got. Right. I'm not going to limit my voice so that I can adjust it to what I think people want to purchase. Right. You know what I mean? And to me, that's the great thing about being an artist, is the freedom of expression. I think that the world needs more of that artistic freedom of expression. We get so serious, and sometimes people want to say, hey, you have to think like I think, or you have to do like I do. But sometimes art gives us the freedom to, not really take a side, but make a statement. Mm-hmm. Something for you to think about, something that hits inside your soul. So, that's why I do what I do. I think a lot of times Black artists do paint images that directly reflect who they are, like their skin tone or whatever, just to let you know, like, hey, I'm here. You do have Black artists, going and doing history, I learned a lot about different artists, and not all the artists that I learned about in the history books looked like me at all, you know? And so to see a whole genre based off of people with black skin, I think the world needs that addition. You know, I think what kind of world will we live in where all the artwork just looked the same? You know, there was no variety. You know, let people have a choice, you know?
Yeah. You as a black woman in 2020,
Yeah.
painting this painting
Yeah.
of a black woman in 2020, it isn't you, but it reflects how you feel.
Yeah, it reflects. It's like I can empathize with a woman like this. You know, I've been there. I've protested before. You know what I mean? I can empathize with the emotion. I can empathize with, you know, the frustration of, you know, seeing someone that looks like me being mistreated or mishandled, you know, in the public. I can empathize with that. But, you know, not only that, we need Americans to speak out about whatever they're not having. That, to me, that's the joy of being an American. That's the joy of living in America, is that you have the freedom to change things. You know, that's why I wouldn't want to live anywhere else, because anywhere else you don't have that freedom to change. You know, you might get in trouble for speaking out. I don't want America to change where people aren't allowed to protest, you know? And people talk about, people tearing up stuff and all this kind of stuff. Okay, that aside, the act of boycotting or protesting, to me, is all a part of being American. Of course, you know, she's doing the fist, the power to the people fist, and she's got the afro, which is significant in our history with the Black Power movement. And, you know, the shapes, all these squares are supposed to be the signs that are the representation of the signs that people make. The red, the black, and the green is representative of the blood, the lands, the people, and the mineral, the gold that's in the blood of the black people, you know. And then I have the names of various people. I was gonna try to put like all the names on there, but inevitably, you know, I would leave someone out.
Yeah.
And there's like thousands of names, which is ridiculous, you know, that there's thousands of names like that. But just, you know, the people that kind of set it off. You know, you got George Floyd, which really kind of was like the straw breaking the camel's back this year. Eric Garner, the gentleman that was choked in a similar fashion, and his daughters, you know, worked really, really hard, like effortlessly, and we kind of forgot about them in the media. I think one daughter died, and then the other daughter just kept the movement going, like trying to get justice for Eric Garner. And then you have Breonna Taylor.
What is it like being a black woman in Kentucky and having the Breonna Taylor incident so close to home?
Well, I mean, I mean, it's Louisville. Everybody knows about, you know, I mean, I guess shouldn't say everybody, but I mean, if you're from Kentucky and you're black, 9 times out of 10, you've either been to Louisville, or you know somebody that lives in Louisville, or you've got to be familiar with Louisville. At least know Muhammad Ali, and know that Muhammad Ali is from Louisville, Kentucky. You know what I mean? So if you do know anything about Louisville, you know that the crime rate there and the racial tensions can be high. I'm not really surprised. What I am surprised about is that so many people would take an interest and rally behind the cause and try to get justice for her. What makes me sad, though, is that it took someone to be murdered for someone out of Kentucky, a black woman, to be highlighted from Kentucky, for that to be, you know, so significant in the world from a black woman in Kentucky. I mean, I don't know if you can think of like one black person from Kentucky that is a female has been celebrated more than Breonna Taylor. You know, it's unfortunate that it would take something like this to highlight a black woman from Kentucky, but at the same time, it's something that has really put Kentucky on the map. I mean, people are looking to us to make changes. You know, we've had Mitch McConnell serving and representing Kentucky for like over 30 years. You know, people are wanting some change. They're looking to us to make changes in Kentucky, and I don't know how that's going to work out. You know, they're looking to us to make that arrest, you know, for Breonna Taylor's killers, and I don't know how that's going to go. When the world's looking at Kentucky and they're talking about all this stuff, I'm thinking, welcome to our world. You know what I mean? Like, welcome. This is stuff that, and I'm not going to say that we've gotten complacent, but these are things that we've had to deal with as Kentuckians all our life.
Right.
There's probably, you know, hundreds of Breonna Taylors in Kentucky. You know, I mean, if we wanted to talk to other people about injustices and different things, I mean, personally, I've had things to happen to me. I'm not going to really go into it in depth, but I've had things happen to me here in Harrodsburg and in Danville, and I thought, hey, this is crazy, you know, thinking I'm the only one. And when I shared my story with other people, they're like, yeah, that happened to me too. The exact same thing happened to me. We live in such a small town, it's kind of difficult to really say what you have to say without becoming a target. You know what I'm saying? In order to have peace, a lot of people just don't say anything. You know, and it's sad, but if we all come together and speak out and try to make changes, then to me, that's where it starts. Everyone has to come together, admit that there's some things that we could change, and try to do better at it, you know, and try to make those changes. And we have to that's why I wanted and agreed to talk to you, because we have to start telling our story, you know, so that other people will feel comfortable telling their story, and so that we can be the bricks that, you know, the stepping stones to make change. You know, we can start planting those seeds to grow and make changes. Well, I mean, yeah, like I'm kind of upset that I don't have I used to have this truck that I used to drive around Harrodsburg a lot. I loved my truck. And there was an incident at McDonald's, and I got into, well, I don't personally feel like there was a wreck at all. I was backing out, and then this guy pulls up behind me, and he's looking at me crazy, and I'm like, you know, is everything okay? Like, did I hit you or something? So I parked my car, and I see that the guy is saying that I backed into him. I was not allowed to speak. I was not allowed to talk about it. They ran everything, did everything. You know, the day I was supposed to be in court, they gave me the wrong court date, so I couldn't show up for the restitution. They put like a bench warrant out. I go pay that. They give that money instead of giving that money back to me. They give that money to the guy for restitution. I try to speak up about what happened, and I was told that if I did not shut up, that I was going to be locked up.
Wow.
Yeah. I got a court-appointed defense attorney, and she was so scared to even say anything. You know, I was like looking at her the first time I was in court, like, tell them that there was no wreck. And so she told the judge, like, you know, my client seems to think that there was no wreck. He's like, of course there was, and just kept moving on. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was just so frustrating. That whole incident was so frustrating to the point that when the judge told me to be quiet or he was going to lock me up, I knew I had no power. I absolutely knew I had no power. So my thoughts was, let's just get this over with, and so I can put this behind me. I didn't even have my day in court. to like defend myself,
Right.
And I just felt like it was just like a real injustice and no consideration of what that could do to me. And I feel like a lot of times, people are arguing online and they're talking about criminals and they're accusing blacks of being criminals and stuff. I don't feel like that is an accusation of their character. I feel like it's someone promoting an agenda. I feel like there is an agenda to make blacks criminals.
Yeah, and even if there is a criminal record, it's used as almost a way to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, I feel like the agenda is to keep blacks from being successful.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because there's a prejudice when it comes to having a criminal record. So what better way to keep the black community down than to find a way to have every black person to have a criminal record? You have to remember that judges are elected. If nobody's running against them, they win by default. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So then you have the same person every single time, and it's a small town, so I mean, it's just sad, but that's like the reality of it. But I know that people have to get out and vote. They think that their votes don't matter, or it's all politics. They're going to do whatever they want to do. And yeah, to some degree, but your voice does matter. You have to, voting is just as important as protesting. It's just, it's even more important than a tweet or, just posting something on your Facebook page. People think because they have conversations or they make a great Facebook post that they've done something. You've done something when you've taken action, when you've taken the time to go out there and vote. And let people know where your stance is on something. I can't stand to hear when people say they don't vote. I don't like that, because a lot of our ancestors were killed for the right to be able to cast a vote.
Right.
President Obama, I was supporting him. And I'm going to be biased. It was mainly because I wanted to see an African American in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big historical event.
Yeah, I felt like it was it was a door opener. It was a pivotal point in American history that needed to happen. However, I am a little bit cynical when it comes to politics. I feel like they're all in bed with each other. But I do feel like we do make a difference. I feel like the reason that sometimes they're all in bed with each other is because the people's voices aren't being heard. We need to remind them that they're working for us, and I feel like a lot of people should get involved more. It's hard enough to be a person of color and to do any phenomenal act in America without being criticized or judged. But why is it that people of color always have to be 110 times greater than the average person just to be admired or accepted or respected? I think it's really sad how divided the country is right now. I think it's really sad. I think we should actually be at a point in our lives in America. We should be at a point where, politics aren't divided by black and white, at least at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That, you can have black Republicans without feeling like, they're selling out or something like that. You know what I mean? That's just their personal preference. And I grew up in a world where people didn't really tell what their affiliation was. That was private. And that's why, I posed my post the way that I did, is because I'm trying to target the human being inside of us. I want you to look at, I was just saying, like, an American gets shot in the back in front of his children.
Okay, you were talking about the guy who got shot.
Yeah, I had made a post and I said, like, an American gets shot in the back by in front of his children, by a mentally ill police officer. You know what I mean? And I think someone had a problem with me saying that the police officer was mentally ill. They wanted me to say that the police officer was racist. But in my eyes, racism is a mental illness. You see what I'm saying? He was like, no, it's a construct. And I'm like, no, I get it. It's a construct. I get it. You know what I mean? But I'm changing the narrative. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to have people think about the way that they view things. Because, yeah, it's a construct, but it's something that we don't have to participate with. So what in your mind makes you feel like you have to participate with this racist construct?
Okay.
You know, I think culture is more important than the color of your skin. So, well, if we do the census and we know who's what, we know black people, but how do you know that every black person needs this service that you're providing? Not all black people are the same.
Right.
There are some privileged black people. You know, I mean, like we talked about, growing up with a dad is a privilege, that some people don't have. So to assume that every black person needs to have therapy because they come from a broken home or a single parent home, to me, that's being racist, because that's not necessarily true. I know a lot of people that came from 2-parent homes that have wonderful parents that are people of color. You know what I mean? So, but people that come from a single parent home, they have that's a culture. There's a lot of, I could have something in common with another person that comes from a single parent home that didn't have their father around. And we could sit and we could talk about different things that happened, or how we looked, or how we thought about things. That's part of something that we share. You know what I'm saying? That's a culture. And it doesn't matter if they're white, black, Asian, whatever, we might have the same things that happen to us in our life.
What was it like raising biracial kids?
I remember them having trouble trying to figure out navigating through school. Like, who do we hang out with? You know what I'm saying? And luckily for them, Harrodsburg has a lot of biracial people in school, whatever. So they had like their own culture of, kids that came from multicultural homes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's been good for them. It's having their dad from Oklahoma, and then I'm from here, and they have people in their family that are white too. I think it's helped them to be well-rounded. And then I have 2 sons, and my youngest son is African American, my oldest son is black and Jamaican. You know what I mean? And so they grew up with all of that. We had all these different cultures in our house, and I think it just made them well-rounded. I'm a free spirit, I'm artsy, so I've traveled a lot and met different people of different backgrounds, different cultures, and I think it would just be a shame to not have that be an addition to the world. To have different flavors, different cultures, different backgrounds, different heritage, different customs. I just think it's a beautiful thing that we can all live in the same place and work for like a common good. Maybe I'm delusional, but I like, power of manifestation. That's my prayer. I feel like God changes things, and I live where I live. All my neighbors are white, and the guy that lives downstairs from me, he takes my trash can around, all the time. He looks out for me, brings my kids food. I can't sit and take a stance that is so like strict and say that all people are this way, knowing for certain that I have someone like that who's a great neighbor that's been there for me. Because we can't just focus so much on the negative that we forget the good. Because it'd just be a horrible place, a horrible energy, horrible place to live. if we just focused and became bitter, focused on the negative. And I honestly feel like this president has torn us apart because he's condoned some of the things he should have condemned. He's given a voice to bigotry. He's allowed hatred to have a face. He's been accused of crimes that are disgusting, you know, and who wants to be affiliated with anyone that would, I mean, if you're a good person, why would you even want to be affiliated with someone who would condone those types of behaviors? So, it tears us apart because you have people within families that one person supports them, the other person doesn't, and it just causes friction. You know, people that you've known for years, they come out and support them, and then you just think that they're all about every single thing that he's condoned that he should have condemned, and it makes you look at them differently. Like really? Well, I mean, I'm a Christian. I was baptized when I was 8 years old. However, I don't feel like God has ever forsaken me or turned his back on me or ever ceased to be God. But I did go through a phase in my life where I had to question my spiritual beliefs. And when I say question, I mean like, who did black people worship before they knew Christianity? Why is every time I see a picture of Jesus, he's white? When the description of Jesus in the Bible clearly says that, his skin was like, his copper, and his eyes were like balls of fire, and his hair was of wool. You know what I mean? Like, that don't sound like the white people I see,
Yeah.
And I think that's just a rite of passage. I don't know for sure. I mean, I haven't questioned everyone, but I just am under the impression that we all kind of go through life and question the things that we're taught when we're younger. But one thing's for certain and definitely for sure is no matter, what I have learned that Jesus' real name is, or what he's really called, or what he really looked like, the same God and the same Jesus Christ that I've been praying to since I was 8 years old has never failed me and has always come through for me, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
Do you have any advice that you'd give to either your younger self or a younger person in like growing up now?
Don't be so hard on adults.
Why you say that?
Because when I was younger, I used to judge adults a lot. I would look at somebody and say, why aren't they further along? How old are they? They're still doing this, or why are they like that? They're too old to be acting like that, or whatnot. And the older I got, the more I realized that adults are just giant kids. They're just human beings. They're not perfect. Also, if I was to give the younger generation advice, I'd say do as much as you can while you're young. There'll be plenty of time to settle down and have kids. But while you're young, if you have a dream, chase it. If you want to go somewhere, go. There'll be plenty of time to work and settle down and have kids. Once you have a child, they not going nowhere. They with you for life. You know what I mean? You got plenty of time for that. Go do something different every day. Wake up and decide you're going to do something you've never done before. Go somewhere you never been. Talk to somebody you never talked to. Read about something you've never even thought about. Just take advantage of your youth. So my website is www.LaChrista.com, and you can send me a message. I may not get right back to you, but I will get back to you. If you just register, like at least leave me your email address or a way for me to get in touch with you. You can send a message. I have art on there. I have an artist page on Facebook. It's at LaChrista's Art. That's LaChristas Art, A-R-T, and that's on Facebook. You can send me a message there as well. I can do commission work. Like I won't really do, like you say, hey, can you paint me this? That may not work. Mm-hmm. But if you say, I would like a painting that embodies this type of energy, or that, I was feeling this kind of way. Can you make a painting that represents that energy? Mm-hmm. I'm really empathic, so I can channel that and do something, and talk with you, and we can work together, and you can do something like that. Or I do commission portraits. So if you want a portrait, you just let me know. I don't do acrylic or oil portraits like this. I only do black and white chalk or color chalk pastel. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
What's the difference between my voice and my right thumb? So artistic expression is a problem. I'm not talking about selling drugs and robbing. I gotta keep going, gotta keep thriving. A man does what he wants when he the poo. Get it like Christopher Robin, and I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna keep